The Lifestylist, Episode 138, featuring Donny Epstein.
I'm Luke Story, a former celebrity fashion stylist and founder of School of Style. For the past 20 years, I've been relentlessly dedicated to my deepest passion, designing the ultimate lifestyle based on the most powerful principles of health and spirituality. The Lifestylist Podcast is a show dedicated to sharing my discoveries and the experts behind them with you. Dudes, dudettes, I am really excited to tell you about Alterapure. These guys make the most insane, organic, really high quality bedding. And this is what I'm using on my own bed now. So your sleep sanctuary is really important, and it really affects not only your health, but your quality of sleep. So these guys are going above and beyond the call of duty. And I'm just really stoked to have found someone that's not only organic, but certified pesticide-free and non-GMO. Did you know that you might be sleeping on GMO cotton? So a lot of shady stuff going on in the labeling of cotton in the industry that's used for bedding. So these sheets are super high quality, very well made. But not only that, it's just a great company because they're down with fair trade, social equity. They take care of the environment. Everything they do is done with complete transparency, and they value sustainability above all else, not only your health, but the environment and all that as well. So they're certified, tested, verified, 100% super legit and badass. And they're also just great looking and very comfortable. So I'd love for you to go check them out. Their website is alterapure.com. That's ALTERRAPURE, alterapure.com. And it's just really exciting news to share with you because I've been looking for something like this for a long time. But what's even more exciting is that if you go to alterapure.com and enter the code LIFESTYLIST at checkout, you're going to save 15%. And their stuff is really affordable already. So go to alterapure.com, enter the code LIFESTYLIST, and save 15%. Today's episode is brought to you by my friends over at Organifi.com. Really excited about this product. I've been using it for a few months, and I've got to say, they are revolutionizing the green juice game. So you probably know that green juice is good for you, right? We see them like in 7-Eleven now and airport convenience stores. That's awesome. I'm all for it. But there's a couple of issues with green juice that I find troubling. A is a lot of times they come in plastic. B, they're loaded with sugar, up to 25 grams sometimes, which is insane. That's like a green Coke. But the main thing is they're just really inconvenient. They're not good for travel. Organifi has solved that problem by creating these single-serving packets of a really easy to mix, easy to use green juice superfood blend. It's loaded with 11 superfoods. It's got chlorella, wheatgrass, spirulina, mint, turmeric, moringa, ashwagandha, lemon, beets, matcha green tea, coconut water. Best of all, it's sweetened with monk fruit, which is a really low glycemic sugar. So it's not going to spike your blood sugar, which essentially drains you of energy, makes you crash, and ultimately could also make you fat because you don't want to be having a high sugar drink. It just is not good. So these guys make this amazing tasting, super powerful green juice powder. It also comes in a tub if you just want to have one at home. It's by far the tastiest one that I've found. There's a lot of superfood green blends around. And to be honest, a lot of them just taste gross and they don't mix well and they're just not convenient to travel with. You'd have to like make a Ziploc bag full of some green powder. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be traveling through the airport security and get caught with one of those. So if you want to check it out, I highly recommend that you do. And I've also got a little discount for you, of course. All you do is go to Organifi.com, that's spelled with an I, Organifi.com, enter the code LIFESTYLIST, and you will save 20% off your order. It's a pretty sweet deal. So again, go to Organifi.com, enter the code LIFESTYLIST, and you will save 20%. Check it out. Do you know what today is? Today is your lucky day, my friend, because you stumbled on another episode of the Lifestylist Podcast. My name is Luke Story, and I'm here to drop knowledge bombs on your dome. Today's guest is Mr. Donny Epstein, and I'm going to tell you what. Now, I say this every episode because I get pumped about everyone, but Donny is a very fascinating human being. And I mean, this is just one you do not want to miss. Listen through to the end. Just trust me. If you're at all into metaphysics, spirituality, energy work, things like that, this one is really going to give you some value. So who's Donny Epstein? If you don't know his work, he is the developer of EpiEnergetics and network spinal analysis. Using his EpiEnergetic methodologies, individuals and companies are now engaging in the conscious and ecological use of energy and information to produce the extraordinary. He's also the author of 4 books, The 12 Stages of Healing, the Somato-Respiratory Integration Workbook, The Boomerang Principle, and Healing Myths, Healing Magic. He's highly sought out by the people seeking the extraordinary through his knowledge of the dynamics of energy and information from multi-dimensional realms. Now, I first heard about Donnie's work from my friend and fellow podcaster, Stephen Spencer. He recommended something called network spinal analysis years ago for the back pain that I've always been bitching about. You've probably heard me bitch about it if you listen to the show. I'm still working on it. It's an endless battle. Now, it took me a while, but eventually I found a practitioner here in LA that I really like named Michael Diamond at Alive in Beverly Hills. That's the name of the place, Alive. And he is very alive also. And I'd also heard Tony Robbins talk about how Donny Epstein had been treating him for years. So I started to put the pieces together. And after about 2 visits with Mr. Diamond there at Alive, I started really geeking out on Donnie's material because I really started feeling better. I had this vertigo, dizziness thing that was happening. I went in to see Michael at Alive, told him about that. He's like, oh, yeah, no problem. Give me a couple weeks. I'm like, yeah, right. And turns out it really works. So after that, I really started digging into this Donnie guy. I had no idea that a couple weeks later, he's going to be in my living room recording a podcast with me. Totally weird synchronicity how that came out. But anyway, not only did we do the interview, but he brought his massage table and actually gave me a treatment prior to us recording, which you'd think would have been really cool and set me up. But I got so kind of grounded and spaced out that it took me a while to kind of fire things up to get the interview going. But it was just a real treat to meet him and his lovely wife. And, it was just like one of those things you're sitting there going, how did this happen? In like a couple of weeks, found out about this guy, his whole healing system, started to explore it. Next thing you know, here we are just chilling like old homies, old besties in your old pal Luke's living room. Pretty magical life that I have, for which I'm very grateful. And you as a listener, of course, make that possible. Here's a fraction of what we covered in this very interesting interview/conversation with Donny Epstein. The fact that everything in reality is a function of a binary code of energy and information. What EpiEnergetic means. Benefiting from the different levels of consciousness available to us as humans, spirituality, and experiencing the divine as a reward for adding value to others. Accessing divine intelligence, spiritual escapism, and how to avoid it. It's kind of an oxymoron, like escaping escapism, but he'll explain. How network spinal analysis works, the relationship between emotional intelligence and physiology, why the immune system is an antiquated term, the purpose of emotions, having cancer versus cancerine, moving from the lower mind to the upper mind, and finally, the process of addiction, reward, pain, and certainty. Now, this is a very special episode with a truly extraordinary human being. Sitting down with Donnie was just a transformative experience for me. I know it's going to be one for you. But before we jump into that, of course, I got to give you a couple plugs. Thought you're going to fast forward past that shit, huh? Nope. I got you right here, boo. Check out next week's episode with Light Watkins, buddy of mine. He's got a new book out. I had to have him on the show. The title of next week's episode with Light is You Are Your Own Guru, Meditation for the Masses. If you're someone who's interested in meditation and wants to go deeper, that's a show you want to catch. If you're someone who's tried meditation and think you suck at it or you can't do it or it doesn't work or it's boring, then Light is the answer for you. That's next week's episode, comes out on Tuesday. If you don't want to miss that, just subscribe to the show. Super easy. Now, if you really want to go gangster next level, here's what you do. Subscribe to my newsletter. If you have a US phone, it's so easy. All you do is text this word, one word, The Lifestylist, to the number 44222. So text the word, all lowercase, one word, The Lifestylist, to the number 44222. Or if you're not on a US phone, simply go to lukestory.com/newsletter. Then when that episode with Light comes out, it's going to get emailed to you with all the links, the video, everything that happens. So my newsletter is bomb, and I highly suggest that you get on it. Next thing I got to let you know about is my upcoming event, June 14th at Bulletproof Labs in Santa Monica, California. To get RSVP'd to that event, just go to lukestory.com/events. And I'm always adding events there all the time. So it's just a good place for you to bookmark and check in with me. All right. And I think that is about it. So right now, I want you to do this. Give your higher self a nudge. Tell them that you two are about to embark on a spiritual, metaphysical awakening journey with the brilliant Donny Epstein.
Never try to fix something that's not working. Go with what is working and let that spill over. If there's effort, you're off base. Find the thing that's not effort. It's easy.
Donny Epstein, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here.
Oh man, I'm really stoked to meet you. For those listening at home, we just had a really fantastic experience. You just did something to me, which I'm sure we're going to get into explaining. And I said when you were done that my mind has not been that quiet in quite a long time. There was this sort of white noise, empty space there for a considerable amount of time after we just did what we did. So tell the listeners a little bit about who you are and what I just experienced on that table.
Okay. Let's start with answering experience on the table. Everything needs energy to exist. Everything in reality, and our bodies, our lives, everything we can even think of or manifest is a function of a binary code of energy and information. Everything is information. We're information. This mug is information. Information with energy becomes a potential. It fades out of existence, like us. As long as we have enough energy to bring to the information, something's manifest in life. So, I will answer about the mind. If you take a match and put it to a piece of wood, the wood burns. Assuming it's lit, it burns. A small amount of energy ignites it. It gives off more energy than it started. The energy is withdrawn from the wood, so the information called wood seeks to exist, becomes ash. That's the same principle, and the wood does not renew itself. As long as we can renew the energy, we don't go back to the dust. This is the same principle of everything in life and the magic of manifestation. If you take energy out of a system, it breaks down. You don't breathe energy in a relationship, you don't have it. In the business, you don't have it. You could look at people's bodies and know who's put conscious energy into it or not. As a stylist, historically there, you would put a lot of energy into how these people are going to look. And even if they didn't care about it, your focused attention on them and how they were going to look, and that's because of the brand, how it's going to affect things, made impact. If you make the wrong choice for clothes, your enthusiasm about the wrong choice would still have carried over into what's happening with them. So now let's get to the next point. You don't like something. Why don't you like it? It has nothing to do with the circumstance, nothing to do with the story. It's because when you focus on it, you have less available energy. So the thoughts and emotions you have drop to a lower level. You don't need much energy to be depressed. You don't need much to be upset. The same thing occurs with when you like something. It has more energy. Whatever you have experienced more energy with when you're thinking about it or focusing on it, that's what actually you value more, and that's what grows in life. So, for example, if you have a challenge with money, but have great stuff with relationships, when you think of relationships, you're thinking in a style that adds energy to your system. But the way you think of money is a different way. EpiEnergetics. I'm Epstein. EpiEnergetics means around all energy is information. Information that observes itself we call consciousness. So, if you think about it, and you did a broadcast recently on sustainable farming, okay. Sustainability is important. So what happens is if you take energy and you withdraw it from a system, it collapses. We feel pain. We feel distress. We feel we can't make it. The body breaks down to a lower level, a path of logic. Pathology is a logical path. Oh, the disease is the cure. The disease is a means of downsizing your life so you barely survive. The forms the cells change to accommodate for how you use energy information. If you increase the information, energy, you can have more information, increase the bandwidth, it organizes at a higher level, whether it be about your relationship or your health or anything else. This is some of the basic principles from which I develop my systems in the healing art, in chiropractic, known as my network spinal systems, in the somato-respiratory integration, connecting to the body with breath, movement, focused attention. In my EpiEnergetics, working with the energy, unbound energy in the field, it's all the same thing. When you bring energy to any system consistent with its nature, its signature, its true nature, the system instantly and effortlessly becomes something better. Not just part of you becomes something better. The whole system becomes something better. And I will get back to the question about the mind. Okay, I want to get a little more context for it. When I was a child, my parents had some challenges with me because I normally saw energy of creation. I didn't see the physical form as reality. We see the physical form and see the space between us. The space to me was reality. Everything else was emerging from that space. Please don't get it wrong. It's not a fun place for a kid to experience the world like that. It's a scary place because there's no context, which is one of the reasons why I'm on the path I'm at now. For people to realize the nature of reality and the nature that reality is more than the physical world. And we must bring that energy in to influence the physical world in a way, not separate from it.
What was it like when you were a kid and you were having that experience that you were experiencing reality in a different way than the other kids in the schoolyard, and you're seeing the space between trees rather than the trees, and that, how were you able to contain that?
I didn't. I was drugged. I was diagnosed at age 4.5 with petit mal epilepsy with atypical, with high temporal lobes activity, which is associated with creative genius at times. But in a chaotic way, couldn't organize it effectively. And it wasn't healthy enough for the energy to move through the system effectively. With visual, auditory, and kinesthetic prodromal signs, warning of it, like before headache, people may get flashes, that type of thing. And hallucinations, they called it. Okay. They weren't hallucinations to me. Okay. That was a challenge. They seemed real to me, but not to everyone else. I was placed on extreme amounts of barbiturates, which were big in 1950s and 60s.
Like downers, like sedatives.
Barbiturates.
Yeah.
So, phenobarbital, remember all those things.
Wow.
And high doses they wouldn't give to an adult at that time because they didn't know yet. Okay.
Right.
And they kept trying to get my EEGs to happen and me to stop having those experiences. Some of it was scary because my parents would put a needle in me. I wouldn't wake up for a day and a half. And I wake up, he'd be dazed. And I very often tell him about some experiences.
So were you seeing reality in the sense of sort of a fractal, disintegrated way where it looks, where you're not seeing the physicality of things, but seeing the vibration of the physicality? I know it's hard to explain something that we can't share the experience of.
As you're speaking, before you say the words, the field of space around you, which is where thoughts and experience originate from, it pulsates at a different energy level. It's a frequency. It's a sound, but it's not auditory, but I know it's a sound, a vibration. I would actually see the change in the space between us like a heat coming off a road with a mirage.
Okay.
Sometimes I look at you and I would see equations going very quickly.
Wow.
Because it was like the Matrix, the screen.
Wow.
That's it.
So would you say that you had or have an ability to sort of see things at a quantum level and perceive that prior to form?
As I live in that world.
Wow.
I have.
Huh.
It's illness if you live there and not here in the other plane too. You don't romanticize because it had no meaning for it. Without meaning, it's frightening. But I learned over time what that means. I learned the language of that. Later on, when I was around 30 years of age, around that time, I was able to start picking out people by their faces, pictures. Before someone would say, this is your grandmother, this is this, I'd say yes, and I've had that memory. But I couldn't organize it by myself. And this is all part of the answer to the question about the mind and other things here. You know, you're experiencing through network one of my methodologies I've developed. Ken Wilber, who was one of my heroes, who moved to Boulder, Colorado, was my next door neighbor.
No way, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I just happened to have to get that house at that time. He was there.
That is interesting.
And he was on silent retreat, and he had a button that said, I went to talk to him. He was writing his Sex, Law, and Spirituality, and I was writing my book, 12 Stage of Healing, at the same time, and like from here, right across the street. So what wound up happening is I went over to him to meet him. I said, hey, Ken, hi, I'm Donny Epstein. I'm your hero. He went like this and pointed to a button. It said, I'm on silent retreat. I said, okay, I'll talk then, Ken.
Nice workaround. I like that.
And what happened is he mentioned that my first systems, such as network, were the first second-tier disciplines around, and all my disciplines were the first systems that he knows that integrate his principle in the core and development of it. And the later one, what I just worked with you here, the EpiExchange, that when they talk about different colors and dynamics, the second tier of consciousness, is basically where you're starting to experience the energy behind the form. You're experiencing the oneness and unity of all things. Force is not needed because real power is presence and awareness. It's a different world which we're really coming to there. But that's part of it. And my other systems developed at different levels, and the highest they know is really teal or indigo, and the new disciplines are probably around that. So he challenged me a few years ago, being a spiral whiz where you go up and down all the different levels of consciousness. Your real job, it really is not to stay there per se, but your real job is to bring the energy and information to people. So no matter what level of consciousness they're at, you could find some way that they could benefit from the wisdom and applications, and you'll be okay with it.
That's interesting.
That's the past 4 years really has been about.
That's interesting.
So it's really make it practical, make it real.
Right. That reminds me, I interviewed John Gray, and he spent a lot of time with the gurus in the 60s, hung around the Maharishi for 9 years, and he did that whole guru trip. And I've always sort of idolized those saints and sages and the enlightened ones. And he was laughing at me, sort of like he was dispelling all. They said, no, Luke, the real work is to attain, that spiritual understanding and experience, but to stay here on the earth plane and actually help people and to be of service, not to disappear into a cave. Is that similar to?
Yes. Well, let me tell you. Well, I'm going to answer some of these with what you first asked, because and gain the context for it. I have found people who want to meditate and be still and quiet. And you're not spiritual if that, or escaping. I have found if a person is cancering and they go to love their cancer and get the deeper meaning for it, they're probably going to die, because rage will heal them. Because to use a high octane fuel in the system of awakened energy requires massive energy. And it's like if you have angina, you got to run a race, you could be in trouble. Spirituality is not about waking, and not about meditation. It's not about following the rules. It's not about any of that stuff. It's a biological, biochemical reward for adding value to the field between us, other people. That's it. It's a reward basis. So is the experience of the divine. It's an experience that we have. A biochemical reward is opiate receptors, hallucinogens are activated in the body as a reward for adding value to others to move us there. It's not very complicated. You don't have to go years of meditating to do that. Yoga developed when spiritual masters were in states, the energy forced the body in those postures. So people figure if I go to the same postures, I'll be awakened too. But how many people do you know with all the yoga and all the meditation are really living awakened? And those people are awakened masters. See what happens if they have a husband and wife and kids. See awakening without people doing things. They get the daily things. There will be people who must meditate and hold a spiritual space for everyone. That holds the field. It's important. But it's a daily activity. A friend of mine, years ago, I think it was on his third or fourth wife at the time. I don't mean on her. Maybe he should have been on her more. Okay. Anyway.
Maybe he would have kept the first one.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So if he was in the state there with her, and he really was never present with her because he always wanted to be, if there's conflict, you're not spiritual, I'm beyond that type of thing. It's interesting. He was a friend of mine, but diversity, right? So anyway, finally, the most meaningful conversation ever. He listened to her. She cried. He cried. It was an extraordinary type moment. She thanked me because I had just taken care of him before that, so we got to that state. And he was able to be present then. And I spoke to him. He said, it was amazing. I said, great. He says, so what's next? He said, I'm going to India to go silent meditation. Why? To find out what's next. I said, you're a fucking coward. So what do you mean? You're a fucking coward. If you want to be spiritual, wake up in the morning and night next to your wife. Listen to what she says. Take care of her. Worship her soul. And listen to every complaint she has about you and say, tell me more. You want to be spiritual? Go call your father you haven't spoken in 20 years. Go pay the child support you haven't paid for this. You're a fraud. You go to silent retreat for 28 days? Who the fuck's going to tell you you're full of shit? After a while, you'll convince yourself, because the mind will be activated, how enlightened you are. He said, well, my guru told me something similar to that. He said, don't come out to be a silent meditation. What did he say? He said, you're going to spend the 28 days here? Go help the poor people instead. And look at them. Anyway, he went to 28 days silent meditation. He told me his extraordinary experience. He came back and realized he's outgrown his wife. That's the exact opposite of spirituality. In the name of it. So, let's get back to the question about the mind. Every religion, major religion, or say the spiritual traditions, which religions were founded, and the challenge is the spiritual traditions are extraordinary and the structures they're based in don't support that, because all the spiritual traditions are about faith and acceptance and love and community. Yet all the structures are about certainty, self-importance, the opposite. So now, new structures developing. It's not saying they're wrong, but they developed at a different time. People needed that very much. But they all spoke about that there's a bioenergy or a elan vital that organizes the body from the dust and animates everything. Its job is to make sure you have enough energy to stay alive when the body forms in utero. That's the ceiling of its job, just survival. I have found working with people with my network spinal systems that it regulates the bones, ligaments, connective tissue, including the membranes around the spinal cord called the meninges. It regulates the bones and the organ formation. If there's enough energy, then the energetic intelligence, and it's intelligence that organizes how the energy goes to work, what it manifests.
So would you say that you or one of the practitioners of your modalities then is like a conduit or a translator of that energy field, or providing an access point to the field to allow that reorganization to happen?
In the network, it's about accessing the right neural receptors in the body to access intelligence. That's what I've researched. 30 years ago, a little over 30 years ago, I was able to produce a wave in people. And their intention always was the original intention of the chiropractic profession, which inspired me in all different ways around the turn of the century, was that said there's a vibrational field of consciousness, and the nervous system is a conduit for translating that in one's life. And if you stretch the neuroskeleton, the spinal cord and nerves there, it alters the ability to carry the vibrational signal. Therefore, the cells that are formed are changed in form. The way you experience the world mentally, socially, and spiritually change. And those principles said we're always evolving naturally, even in the astral planes you're evolving. That's what we talked about those days.
Wow.
And the purpose of chiropractic would be to make sure that there's a reduction of that mechanical tension so there could be normal tone or vibrational resonance of the individual with the organizing wisdom that's always perfect. That was the original principle it was based upon. Now, like most things, start out as a very disruptive technology. To get accepted, they have to become part of the existing paradigm. That's it. That's the principle I used. So as I took care of people, I was looking for the tension patterns. I called 5 phases of mechanical tension, the spine, that altered the tension. I heard the frequency as it worked on changing. And if you stretch a cell, any cell, you check its surface architecture. The different proteins attached. That's a different experience. So every cell of the body is hearing that frequency. It's changing your perception. It's changing the structure of the cells and the behavior of the cells and of your life. I find 1986, I found 5 basic patterns. And it would liberate that the body would move to different positions that it was in when a trauma happened. And then with enough energy, its relationship to the trauma changed. Energy that was keeping the information you couldn't experience at the time, that energy liberated. You're able to take the information you could not experience, integrate it with more energy, you experience it differently, you remember it differently. And suddenly you move towards wholeness. I developed 12 stages of that process. And the network care would produce that. And with enough significant change in the tension and people's lives changing physically, emotionally, chemically, and sometimes a spiritual change also, I found a way of producing the wave in someone with the undulation. You know, I was a real conservative practitioner. I was really conservative. I was consistent with original principles, which basically was too revolutionary for the modern times. And I wanted to see, how do we express this naturally?
Was there a moment when you moved from the traditional, more adjustment-based, physical hands-on manipulation when it switched and you were able to sort of do that in an energetic sense?
I never did much of the physical structure. I did. I did not the energetic. The physical adjustments that I did, usually with a drop tape, we'll put an oscillatory force, a rapid force into it. We'll allow it to oscillate and assume its natural state, because the oscillation is the communication. The rapid. I did the other type, and I got miraculous changes with that. Miraculous changes. But the first thing I would do is make sure the spinal cord tension was free, so the system could move and observe itself, because if the spinal cord is under tension and the nerves are under tension, it's not able to express the consciousness it needs to, and usually the body is stuck in a loop of reacting to emotional and chemical stresses from the past, so it's not even here now. Then I would set it into motion with a more physical application at that time. Then I found how to get the system to self-organize more over a period. You're talking decades of change. So I developed the wave, and people started assuming yoga postures. Never had yoga before. Started singing. It was really trippy. One day I saw a person who was, I would call, by today's view, they didn't call that a more fundamentalist Christian. And I took care of the person. The body arched up, the wave moves to the body, the spine started changing, and they started hearing chants. What I found out later were Hindu chants.
Wow.
And I found people, it didn't matter. So I said, there's some connection to all of it here. And sometimes people's spines improved. But over 30 years of study, 11 universities have studied the mathematics of the going up and down the spine with network. People have got their master's and PhD degrees in engineering and in mathematics, modeling the wave in network as a self-organizing wave that expresses your unique way your central nervous system organizes. It's really big.
Wow.
So I was never into a spiritual journey.
Interesting.
I was never into it.
Wow.
I didn't talk spiritual things to my patients at all. I just got freaking great results.
Mm-hmm.
All I wanted to do is liberate them to the organizing force of the universe the best way I can. And as the mechanical tension changed, their lives changed. Physically, emotionally, structurally. I didn't coach them or anything like that. And actually, the people I disliked the most in my practice were the spiritual seekers.
Why is that?
Because they weren't real. Most was seeking spiritual because they couldn't compete with the physical. And most couldn't pay for care either. They're so spiritual, they need money.
They're so spiritual, they won't get a job.
Yeah.
So is that kind of go back to that spiritual escapism
That's right.
kind of thing?
Yeah. My favorite people were like farmers. People who trust the circle works with their hands.
Where'd your practice start out? Back east?
And one in Brooklyn, and first one's Long Island, second in Brooklyn. By the time I left practice, I left my chiropractic practice in 1993. I was seeing about 200 people a day at that time, regularly. Over my career, I've probably addressed through all my different disciplines at least 250,000 people, and 250,000 people, and millions of people have benefited from the different systems we have on all 7 continents. Okay. And I'll always be evolving. I'll always be changing it based upon what the academic research says. And I want to match the person's experience with the clinical findings. Always. I have an intuition of what's there, but I have to see it showing up. Because at a particular point in time, the mind wants to make you believe you're better than you are. Or the mind wants to make you believe you're worse than you are.
Yeah.
But never as you are, because that needs spirit for that. So in answer to the question further, so we started the wave. I'll get back to that. But let me go.
And by the way, people, we'll put links in the show notes and stuff, but the phenomenon of the wave that Donnie is describing is a phenomenon. It's absolutely mind-blowing to witness.
My 2 biggest fears years ago were public speaking and looking weird. Ha 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 ha. Okay.
Yeah, it's funny how that works.
Kid, right? Yeah. The first energy that you talk about in all different traditions, Judaism, Christianity, Muslim, Islam, Hindu, all the major religions talk about this field around the body. It's integral to the thing.
It's in all the spiritual old paintings of antiquity as well. There always seems to be this auric field around these beings.
As people got into more materialism, I think they forgot the reality of things. And you can't patent it, so why should it be a value?
Right.
Commercialize it. Okay.
Right.
So we get to next level here. And what we're looking at now is the emotional intelligence develops and the uterus experience. And that's where you're now, instead of having things steady to survive, you're going to have to make rapid changes. And what is it about? It's adapting to rapid change in the environment in the field. Now we talk about the field. Let's get real. Really here. What is sound? Subtle vibration in the atmosphere. What is sight? Change in photon energy in the air space between us. What is smell? Changing chemical composition in the space around. All of us, all of our senses are perceiving our environment and how we have to respond to a rapidly changing environment. Emotional intelligence, I believe, and I took these concepts and I put a name that I think unifies it, and I've studied how it affects the physiology. And I then, through network care, we looked at the mathematical signals going up in the spine and saw how each intelligence has a different muscle motor strategy, different posture associated with different awareness. And I mapped them all out. So we could watch the exact motion in the spine and know what organized intelligence develops, what time in your life it probably developed, and a whole bunch about you. So the second one is the emotional intelligence, and it actually regulates the lung muscles, the postural muscles, the tendons, ability to react, express emotion, the emotional system, brain, and the white blood cells, immune system. Immune system, it's such a antiquated term. I really think immune system is really not what it's about. It's the learning system. It's the acknowledgement system. It's an awareness system. It's the responsive system. It is the system by which we have a greater integrity with a rapidly changing world. Okay. Before the body destroys a bacteria or virus, it takes its energy and information and learns from it.
Interesting.
So please, if you're a guru, come on, sneeze at me and fart at me. I want to get those vibes.
Well, that's like when they gave Maharishi or whatever guy a bunch of LSD, and he said didn't do anything. You ever heard that story? Ram Dass's story?
Well, this is my experience. When I went when I was a kid in the 60s, I never smoked pot. I never did this stuff. They told me what the experience they have. I go like, huh? I thought if I took it, I'd stop what I have. I realized, my friends were like, you see this, you see that, you really? Okay.
You never did. You never got into the drugs?
No, my parents told me, and I listened to everything I said. I had to. That I lived kind of scared there also, and I loved them so much, and I believed everything they said near there. And they said, and the doctor said, if I took any other type of thing during it, it could kill me, or I could be in a vegetative state.
Oh, because they had you on the barbiturates and
high
stuff.
levels and stuff like that. No, I said, well, it's not worth it. Yeah, okay.
Right.
And besides, I was sick, and they were trying to get like I was. It was kind of crazy.
Right.
So the third intelligence that develops after the emotional, now first you have to keep saying, now you want to make rapid change. This develops around the time you start to read. So parents, please, please, please delay reading until a kid really wants to read, not because you want it. If you could wait till 6, 7, 8 years old, you'd be better off, because the emotional intelligence helps you adapt to the world, and the emotions change your gene expression, and every action you take requires an emotion. So you want the kid to have the emotions before they have to use the words. I promise you they'll use the words more than you want to for a while.
Wow. So you're saying it would be healthier as you bring a kid up to allow them to naturally learn how to integrate their emotions and express them in whatever form, rather than putting a word on it.
Yeah, because once you put a word on, it's no longer an emotion. Emotions only last
because it moves
seconds.
Up into the mind.
That's right. Because the emotion the mind judges it. The purpose of an emotion is to change your gene expression to create a rapid environmental response to the environment. You want to express it before they say if it's right or wrong, good, bad. When I take care of some people from my programs, my EpiEnergetics programs, and especially one particular program, Ultimatum. Each person gets 2 emotions a day, additional ones to live out, to act out. We kind of wire it from the field. And then some people, we ask what emotions you experience in an average week that are painful, which ones are more constructive you may have. And some people may say, well, emotions I feel are anger, frustration, and sadness. So no matter what happens in your relationship, no matter what happens in your job, no life, no matter what you achieve, you can only have those 3 emotions. Get this. The chemicals that produce emotions are in the back of the spinal cord, where the signals before the first synapse comes in. So the brain's not receiving what's going on. The brain is receiving the way you have responded emotionally to that in the past.
Wow. This is what we in the modern vernacular one would call like being triggered.
That's right.
Right.
And what happens now is
that's a trip.
Now, if you add more energy to the body and the spine, it changes every thought, every emotion, every action, every symptom, every disease, everything you manifest in life, all of creation only exists, each thing at a very narrow threshold of energy. Have less energy, it's more painful, it breaks down. More energy, it sustains itself. Even more, it grows. With more, energy exports to the field between you, space between you, other people, and synergy happens. Synergy doesn't happen because of what you said. It happens because of the energy you bring to the field when you say it that makes you say something different. Now we get to the lower mind, the first thinking mind. The culture requires, since we have the longest level of dependency of any species and a lot more dependence past generations there, it requires that in case it's buffered, in case the mother and father and grandparents were messed up, that the tribe, the culture will tell you who you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to think and not think. And this is, again, many spiritual people have difficulty with this. You don't want your child to be an independent thinker at this stage. You don't want to ask why. Why? Because I'm the mother, I'm the father, I told you why. Never ask, do you want this or that? Never. And the only question is, do you want to eat now or in 5 minutes? You want to have the broccoli first or the okra, or whatever it is. That's it. That's the only question. Because the child of that age must develop a sense of self. To have a thinker thinking, there must be, or to think, there must be a thinker. There really is no such thing as thoughts. There's just a thinker. The thinker will go into the field, which is the cloud, and attract the thought consistent with their energy level. And your energy level is supported by your posture,
That's interesting.
your structure, and that's it.
So is this why, I notice if I don't get enough sleep or I'm just run down, like negative thoughts are much more prevalent than if I'm rested and I'm feeling nourished.
Because your first intelligence...
Like I'll be more irritable,
Well, the first intelligence, the bioenergetic intelligence, it gives you enough metabolic energy. When you don't get enough sleep, it doesn't have energy. So it's going to make sure you want to survive. It's going to downsize your life. You'll have less emotions. You'll have the emotions that don't take much energy or courage. Then the mind will only think the supports will support it. Why would someone for years be in chronic pain? Why would somebody be messed up or worry about who they are all the years? Because it doesn't take much energy. And many people, when life gets uncertain, they'll get a symptom, they'll be messed up or depressed. Why? Because at least they get, it sucks, but it's certain.
It sucks, but it's certain. That's a good tweetable. Right? That's a good one.
It sucks, but it's certain. Because if they didn't experience it, they'd have to deal with the bigger things in life.
Right.
And the more people you deal with, the more you go from I to we. Illness is allness. We-ness is wellness. They both have ness. It's I or we. If you don't have energy for your own self, you don't have energy to make a we. Like we, but we.
Is this why some chronically ill people become sort of psychologically identified that I have, like I notice you don't use the word they have cancer, they're cancerine. Is this why? Because we become, that's part of our identity. I have this disease or this disorder.
And because when you have that, as long as you can blame something, you're healthier than just feeling totally helpless. Because at least you're using the mind, which gives more energy. Mm-hmm. But it also stops you for the next level. That's the whole purpose. Once you have a diagnosis and a prognosis, you identify with that. And that's called I call pain any uncomfortable situation or circumstance that interrupts your ability to experience the magic of the moment. So you people who have to text people while you're having a meal, that's pain. You take a jog, you have to have the exact music you want, that's pain.
You're describing a lot of I'm thinking of every habit I have that has an associative habit
because
attached to
all
it.
Of them are based upon that. And if that, we'll get further. So the lower mind's job is to say, is it good? Is it bad? Is it right? Is it wrong? Will I be accepted? Will I be validated? Will I please someone? That's an essential point in development. Because this way we fit into the culture, and probably 8% of the world, if that doesn't happen, you're either dead, sold to slavery, or disassociated from the culture.
Is that what you're calling the lower mind, what some people would identify as ego?
No, I'll get the ego another thing.
Okay.
The lower mind, everyone has to have an ego, and you want to fill it. Starving the ego creates pain in the world. Starving the ego stops spirituality. Because you want to have an ego and fill it until you find it doesn't do enough. Okay. The more you starve, the more you separate yourself from spirit. People have all these complicated rules on what you have to do. The easiest thing in the world is to have more energy and awaken. It's these rules we have. Mm-hmm. So people feel self-important. Yeah.
Well, before we started recording, we talked a little bit about the spiritual bypass, and then you went even a step further earlier where I think you were talking about the guy going to India, and I've had that experience at different stages of my development where I think, I've got it now, I've arrived. I feel very spiritual, and it's like the ego even will attach to that and sort of make an identity out of...
It's not the ego, okay? It's something else.
How would you explain that?
Let me continue with intelligences. Okay. So lower mind intelligence is important to set boundaries. Is it good, is it bad, is it right, wrong? Because we're conditioned to know what can we think and what we cannot think. What should we think, what should we not think? That's essential. Because of all the thoughts in creation, we're taking a half a grain of sand on a beach of thoughts and taking that. Everything that's not considered identity doesn't exist. At that level, if it agrees with us, it's great. If it disagrees, inflammatory cells are produced and we actually start getting ill if we go there. An important stage in development. So don't ask the kid, do you want this? Do you not want that? They don't know what their job is to let them want what you want to be a mini you. Because since a species has survived, they're supposed to be the mini you. Don't worry, they'll spend the time reacting against it. But if you don't give them that structure, they have a fixated part of their development. And it's like, but I don't like this, but I don't like this.
Is that the problem with millennials, this generation?
Yeah, and they want the certainty.
Right.
Okay.
Not to say that they are a problem, but I've noticed now that I'm a bit older, I go, oh, there are different generations, and I can sort of see some of the pathology that's come after my generation.
It's also come out because they most often have lost parents, had fractured stuff, and at the time, whichever intelligence develops at that time, if there's a trauma, there's enough energy to organize. It's a challenge in the development. So if the challenge in development of the mind, it's going to keep think. Otherwise, somebody says, "What's your phone number? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7." Okay, got it. Well, what's the number? Oh, do you want to write it down? No, I got it. Okay, because the mind should focus on something. Because this is the energy, gets it, and it's over. On to the next thing. But if there's not enough energy, the mind, the concept of mind, the one who thinks, breaks down. It's inefficient. Just like the bioenergy breaks down, the bones, the ligaments, and your energy system breaks down. The emotional, your tendons or muscles will break down, or you won't express the right emotion. The same thing with the mind. The thinker, you see, don't ever try to change the content of the mind. It's developmental strategy is already complete. It's done. You can change the content of the mind. The mind will always, the lower mind, this or that, right or wrong. If you bring enough spiritual energy into it, it'll focus on the gratitude. It'll focus on whatever you feed it. The grass is not greener on the other side. It's greener where you water it and what you water it with. So EpiEnergetics is around all energy. It's a field of consciousness. And if you bring energy to that, any system, our body, our relationship, a business, and these principles are being taught in business to major corporations in the world, not the physical application, the principles, the system instantly, effortlessly just becomes something better. It doesn't take any work, it just happens. Because just like the sun, the moon, the stars are organized, it's organizing wisdoms of life, just make it happen. Unless it's not enough energy. Then it does kind of, and try to make up a volume of, okay, there. So now you get to about 12, 13 years of age, maybe 14, some 11, mostly after hormones hit in that area, and the upper mind starts developing and says, but what's the purpose of this? I know this rule, but is this right? How do I optimize? How do I make the best of this? That's the philosophical mind. It starts with the concept of a deduction and says, how does this apply in every area? Where the mind starts smaller and goes higher.
Is this why teenagers will start to sort of develop their own sense of meaning and purpose and deviate and rebel from the parents around the hormonal stage?
And that's the point, because here they have to say, because remember, up until recently, in most of the part of the world, by the time someone's 15, 16, they're having babies. That's what's supposed to happen biologically. But people put education and everything else before it. That's the time to have it. So by the time you have teenagehood, you have to start thinking of the bigger thing, because a Jewish kid by the time 13 would be out taking care of someone, take a wife and whatever, that's what would happen. I mean, this is around the world supposed to happen there. And you have to be prepared. And if you expect it, I was married the first time I was 22, engaged at 20 to my first and only girlfriend. Okay. Wife Jackie here, this wife, wife number 2.
Hey, Jackie.
Okay.
I like wife number 2.
Right? Jackie, yeah. Jackie, she was married when she was 17.
Wow.
She had a year later for the first child. That's why we're now able to have, we have 8 grandchildren, and the youngest is going to be almost 2, and the oldest is 17, because she started so early, and I started early. Okay?
How many kids do you have?
We each have 2.
Oh, you each have 2. Okay.
So.
And when you were raising your kids, did you know this stuff?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
The thing is,
so now looking back,
you have a choice. Either have a kids before you're too dumb to know what's going on there, or have them after you know what's going on. In between, you got a problem. Okay?
Right. You just described my parents and then probably me. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
God bless my parents.
So now the key thing in network, the motor strategies of how the body organizes revolve. Level 1 of care, you see the connective tissue unwinding. Level 2A, the emotional, you see a stretch response. Level 2B, you see the waves start developing, destabilizing some of the patterns of the mind. Each is integrated here.
Interesting, because I think I've been to about 6 with Michael Diamond over here in Beverly Hills at Alive on Bedford, which is shout out to them for the listeners. Fantastic experience. And I think he mentioned the other day I was in level 2, and I'm in the, and everyone's at different levels, and there's a group of people all being administered care, and some people in there are making all kinds of noises and their bodies moving around and doing all sorts of stuff. And I'm thinking, am I doing it wrong? Or, am I, but I'm not at that stage.
Well, it's not just at that stage. The way you organize the world, your typology, you're never going to think you're doing it right. That's not going to change.
Okay.
That's what's going to happen when you go uncertain, you do that. And for me, I'm always doing it perfect. Everyone else is screwed up. So pick your poison. Either you're never right, everyone else is good, or vice versa. The thing is, you focus on what other people do. Watch that and bless that. Your job is to help others do it right, even if you can't do it yourself. Okay? That's it. My job is I have to do it better myself so I could then do it. I have to first improve myself, and then I can bring it to others. You have to help others improve, and then you bring it to yourself.
This show is brought to you by my friends over at Clearlight Saunas, and I want to give you the opportunity here to save a considerable amount of cash if you're interested in purchasing an infrared sauna. If you go to healwithheat.com and enter the code Luke, you're going to save $450 as well as receive free shipping and a free ergonomic backrest to use in the sauna. So you can go to healwithheat.com, use the code Luke, or just give them a call. They're super cool people. It's a family-run business. You can call them at 800-317-5070. Now, why do I use an infrared sauna? Okay, let me just get into that. I use it for weight loss and increased metabolism. So basically, I'm losing weight, burning calories from just sitting on my ass in the sauna. This is, scientifically verifiable. And I know it sounds too good to be true, but it's not. Muscle pain relief, immune system boosting, massive detoxification, improves the appearance of my skin, eases joint pain and stiffness, and it's just really good for stress and fatigue reduction. When you chill in an infrared sauna, after about 5 minutes, what happens is you go into a parasympathetic nervous system state, which means you are cold chilling. So it's just really good for relaxation. Now, if you want to learn more about saunas in general, I'm going to suggest that you go back to my episode number 24, because the whole damn episode is about infrared saunas, okay? So again, if this is something you're looking into, I think they're the best in the market. They've got indoor and outdoor models starting at $24.95. They're very reasonable, really high quality. And again, if you use the code Luke, you're going to save $450 off your purchase, free shipping, and a free gift by going to healwithheat.com or giving them a ring at 800-317-5070. You just said something interesting too before that the way that you view yourself in relation to others. Do you think that some people just inherently associate themselves in more of a superior role and others the inferior role when they are matching up like in a competitive sense mentally? Because I've always felt more inferior and less than historically in a pathological way.
You always will, because that's your nature.
I've never been the guy that's like, I'm the shit, I'm better than everyone.
As long as you think your thoughts are in your head, that's it. You will never heal your past. You'll never forgive your past. You'll never get beyond your past. You'll never let go of anything. So that stops your obsession right there. Because you're meant to not fit in the world, and every time you try to fit in the world, life's going to beat the hell out of you and show there is no sense of self. It'll beat the crap out of you. Because you don't go where the energy is. Well, you don't go where the energy is not. You go where the energy is. Your salvation is living lives vicarious through others, helping them. You'll never get the love or acceptance you want. Never. So rather than obsessing about that, help others have it, and you're liberated. So we all have a wound, either in ourselves or others, and we have to move the other direction. Watching how people respond in care, we have a typology, we have a questionnaire that predicts so much of your life and what it's about. Based upon these typologies, watching how people respond. Some people make sounds. Some people feel things first. Other people move first. Other people change their posture structure first. Watching how people respond and be able to measure the energy efficiency We measured ways of knowing how people organize their body and their life and the language of it and how to live consistent with that, which goes into all areas. Let me get back to the mind, which first asked.
Yeah. Yeah, because that was profound.
If there's not enough energy in the mind, it's going to keep trying to think. It's going to keep trying to use that same type of energy, obsess about it, obsess about it, obsess about it. Suddenly, when there's more energy in your bioenergy, so you have enough certainty, you could think different thoughts. Now you could go for more energy, motion, make change. With more energy, the mind is suddenly full. And you don't have to hear it. For me, I have to search for a thought to find it. And I'll choose like butterflies, a flutterby, like a net. I'll pick the one and say, this one. Because every thought I choose, I amplify for humanity. Why would I ever want to amplify any thought that doesn't add value to humanity? Ever. Do I do it sometimes? Yes. Is it a good habit to have? No. Because every energy and every consciousness, you're acknowledging that something's okay. Because when you're thinking that thought, you're not thinking about anybody else. You're not helping other people. And you're dropping the energy in the world. So what happened is suddenly enough energy so the mind doesn't have to work overtime. It has enough energy. All this stuff happens, we don't have energy. All of our distress is when we don't have enough energy. That's all. And it's not about the circumstance. If you don't have to change your job or your relationship, your circumstance to change your life. How's that? Just change the way you use the energy and you'll have a different experience and a different impact.
And doesn't that then in turn reflect an outward change? You know, what I've noticed in myself is I've really worked a lot on my mentality and the kind of thoughts that I give energy to. I mean, I've been working on that for a long time. It's getting better and better.
Put, as long as you're working on it, it's not right.
Okay, so how would you frame that then?
If it's done, it's complete.
Okay.
If you're working on it, it's not your nature. You don't never have to work on healing. You never have to work on spirituality. That is such a means of making sure nothing changes. I'm working on it.
Oh, sort of like when you say, I'll try.
That's right.
Similar kind of thing.
Because if you got it, if you use the right energy, it happens instantly. There's no effort. But for most of us, our identity has been effort.
What I'm getting at is that it's like that, what's the term? When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And I'm experiencing that more and more.
And I'm going to give you the rapid track to that.
Okay.
It's this simple. The amount of energy you have available, consistent with your nature and the way you use it, instantly changes the thoughts, the knowledge, the understanding. You don't have to be taught. You learn. You just know. That's it. As I said, that stillness happened because the mind can't get it. You have to look someplace else. The upper mind now says, how do I optimize it? Once you use the upper mind, use both parts of the cerebral cortex, and now you have so much energy left over, you export it to the field. So now where you may have had to get 8 hours of sleep and be either gluten-free or dairy-free, or had your whole list of what has to happen in your life to be okay. You go to Whole Foods or something, and you travel with a buckwheat pillow. You have a whole list. You got
my number.
You got It's a typology, and it's a reason for it, and we understand that. And your buckwheat pillow, I want to be on an airplane, but I have to know what the seat is. I want to be not too close to the window, too much noise, do this. A whole bunch of things has to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. That's because there's not enough bioenergy habitually. So you keep thinking the thoughts, not just think a negative thought. There's a thought that's less of energy efficient. Don't think it's a negative emotion. What we call negative is something when there's a negative energy level. That's what it means.
Mm.
So when you have the upper mind, now you have enough energy to say, how do I optimize this? A problem doesn't even exist there. It's an opportunity. Now with this amount, you feel different energy. This energy, suddenly space between us is charged with this coherent energy, and you start thinking different thoughts. Someone could say, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I could be in this higher energy state and just be there. I'll say, well, if you did know what to do, what would be the answer? Boom, you have it. Because with more energy, that's an energy source. It's actually, it's not just me or you, it's the field between us. Once you get to what I call energy rich, an abundance of energy, at that particular point in time, we can make a bigger impact on the environment than it makes on you. is where you start making a change for people. Then we get to soul intelligence after you probably have lost family members. You had enough loss, your identity has been ruined. You've had enough instability in your life. You've achieved and are never satisfied. Whatever's going to happen, you get to a point that you sense there's something more. And it's not physical. That's where spirituality happens. It's called a soul energetic intelligence. And instead of just two vertebrae rocking like a network, we have two. You have the heart, also three. That produces a field effect where now the heart is actually getting energy from the environment and bringing it back in from the field around you. The body arches up, the head goes back, and we have an awakened real experience. This is what happens. You're more energy efficient. The spiritual, personal development that happens in the different forms of care I have, and spiritual experiences, or spiritual, I say it's spiritual, you don't develop spiritually, you just are. Okay. Those are really rewards for healthy energy efficiency in the system. And as you have more energy, your sphere of who you participate with gets bigger and bigger, and you add more and more energy. And now in a super energy rich state, silence happens more. The mind calms. And now you experience the physical reality behind the form, which is what I was born that way. What happens to some people who, for example, have addictions?
You're reading my mind over and over again tonight.
Because
it's funny because I have my list of questions and I'm like, it's like no questions needed.
It's not
they're all being answered. It's
because
great.
It's not your mind.
Yeah.
I could predict the thought by the way you move your body, the attention energy, because it's a tuner. You tune into frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
We share the same thing. And as soon as you have that thought, very often I get the thought if I'm connected to you. The thing is not your thought. It means you have access to every thought that could ever be thought, every dream that could ever be dreamt, every manifestation that ever can happen. Very few claim it. Ordinary experiencing leads to an ordinary life. Extraordinary experience potentiates an extraordinary life. Extraordinary experience plus strategies consistent with your nature, guaranteed extraordinary. And extraordinary doesn't mean you have to be an extraordinary person. It's just an ordinary person using an extraordinary source of energy. It makes it really simple here.
In terms of the addiction piece, having someone who's had a lot of experience with that, which I, in a sense, has been transmuted into my greatest gift because it's what has fueled all of my expansion and all of my learning and everything that we're sitting here doing. It seems to me, though, that some of us are just born with a propensity toward that. It's almost, is it biological or karmic? Like, how come person A and person B have a totally different reaction the first time they sneak some wine at the Christmas party or whatever?
I'll answer that. I'm first going to get to a point from a higher order that may filter into the answer.
Okay.
I think I wrote an article, and this article was in an International Journal of Transpersonal Studies. Transpersonal psychology is that field of psychology that studies the non-ordinary experience. And I was asked to write an article for that journal, linking my principles to people who will have these awakening experiences, and then the therapist helps them to further awaken. When I say they have to go back to the basis, because the higher you go up a ladder, the more there's a cracked step, the more you go boom. And you really can't. Awaken means you accept all the levels. There's no negative thoughts, no negative things. It just is energy.
So you make peace with every part of your humanity at a higher level.
Yeah, you experience it and are with it.
Okay.
AAA, okay? At AA. I have a question. Why is it that when you go to Alcoholics Anonymous and you say, hi, my name is Donald and I'm alcoholic, why do they call anonymous if you give your name?
I think it's because it's anonymous to people outside of the group.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. Okay.
You're not anonymous within the context of that group and that energy
because
field.
You're unseen.
So if I was at a meeting with you, I wouldn't go on TV and be like, hey, I was at an A meeting and I ran into Donnie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's because there was a lot of shame associated with
I know.
that, that ailment.
Well, it's the shame that brings on the ailment. Let's reverse it.
Oh, yeah. That's where I want to go.
That's it.
Cool.
So this is it. From a cosmology of this, and I wrote an article, it's called Transpersonal Vigilance. The pre-personal self is a bio-emotional intelligence, develops a form of thinking mind develops. The transpersonal, post-personal thing is after the mind is spiritual, okay, or the post-rational. Our life is really run by before the mind and after mind. The mind tries to manage it. Let's get there. And I'll answer the other question you had. Ego. The ego is that process that helps develop a sense of self. The only time ego is a challenge is when ego is bigger than the gifts you bring to the world. I cannot bring a gift to the world where I want to affect these next years 2.2 billion people. I cannot bring things to the world that I do unless I have a very big ego. Because the sense of self has to be able to direct what's going on, directed by something else. So people who usually say this person has a big ego are people who are not making much of a difference. Okay? Because without a sense of self, you can't claim something. But you want to have an inspired sense of self. The ego has been defined as a process of selective and imaginative remembering. That means bullshit. It means whatever you practice. Selective imaginative remember of past encounters with significant objects in the world. So all you're doing is you're help creating whatever you've rehearsed. Reality is whatever you practice and rehearse over and tell yourself. I take a look at what we like to achieve and what reality is necessary and what energy is needed. So going back to this, naturally spiritual energy will be available, would develop as a system where we can experience the soul, the light before the form in my 12 stages of healing or 12 means of consciousness. What we really have is stage 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, the awakened stages. Well, that would happen when you had enough loss around 50, 60 years of age. And even if you didn't have that much loss, you finally had your business and stuff, and whatever you thought you sacrificed for didn't produce. And there's a crisis, a transcendent crisis that happens at that point. Yeah. What happens, though, if your mother and father were alcoholic? Psychiatric problems. You're abandoned. Massive stress homeless, your mother wouldn't give you birth. You were raped, abandoned, violated in a way, in some way, that the culture can protect you. In order to survive, you'd have to start developing a spiritual energy early in life. So vigilance, we talk about vigilance. Mm-hmm. If a bug hits the window and then you jump at night, that's bioenergetic vigilance, vigilant to protect yourself. When you smell fire, no one else smells, you're protecting yourself. Or someone's been hurt by someone's angry, they sense anger, they're vigilant to it. Or the mind is all about vigilance. Mm-hmm. You're violating my rules, I don't like you, whatever it is. But this is spiritual vigilance. And in order to survive, to know if it's safe to be in the room, you have to be able to sense things. I had that early in life. And I use that. But the purpose of it is to protect you. What happens then is you have to grow it up around this point in your life. And the only vigilance you have to be vigilant for is being here for what you're meant to be for. The spiritual investment in you. So what happens? What happens then is if you use the soul energy is not about, spirituality is not about new knowledge. It's not about learning. The tree of life, a tree of knowledge. The tree of life, you learn from life and get real. Raw, real, beautiful. Not beautiful. We're in the LA area. They could be beautiful. You got to be raw and real. That comes beauty. The tree of knowledge is I was naked. I judged. I had that. Use words to describe it. That's what kicked out of the garden. So what we're looking at here is you would have been so many people who are spiritual seekers are looking for answers. They think spirituality is going to do that. So therefore, love is certainty. Money is certainty. Food or sex is certainty. The purpose of soul is to rip apart everything you thought was true. It's never to answer questions. It's to give you more questions. It's the largest force of instability in existence. It'll move you in a moment where your whole life gets turned upside down, either involuntarily or voluntarily. You meet somebody and they attack you, rape you. Somebody upsets you. And 30 years later, you remember why? Because there was a soul connection meant to get the gift imparted with that energy, but then you couldn't receive it at that time. or they couldn't give it effectively. For 30 years, you're still upset about that person. Why? Because your souls are still resonating, and there was meant to be a gift there, which you didn't receive the gift because you didn't like the packaging. So, what happens then is if you want your certainty, if you drink, you get certainty. In a few moments, you get certainty. You smoke. All addictions are really a person have certainty, but you get so much certainty you can't handle. You have to have a variety.
Yeah.
So you go back and forth. You go back and forth, and that. The challenge is you're getting a high without the reward that you would get from helping others.
That's so true, because in all addiction is they're not inherent, at least in my own experiences, they're not inherent and abject selfishness and self-centeredness. You're very insulated, it's all like
and
you're
and
wrapped
for you,
up in
and
yourself.
For you, so-called the external, anytime you live in here, there'll be pain. Once it becomes part of your identity, it draws apart because you're meant to be in the whole world, not here. Every time something's painful, when you work on it, your hands are this way. Every time something's great, your hands are that way.
Mm.
So we look at these. Now, getting back to the story there, addiction, one of my pet things we've done for 20 some odd years is to help Padre Ligio, a Franciscan priest who 60 years ago went to the Italian government and said, give me those who've lost the way, drug addicts and alcoholics and drug addicts, and I'll have them live a Franciscan way of life, of service, monasteric life. Give me an abandoned monastery. They'll build the monastery as a metaphor, rebuild it for building their lives. Extraordinary, some of the best results around, because he doesn't treat them as alcoholics. He treats them as people who have been too selfish, that God beat up early. He said, because God beats up those people who meant to serve the most early in life, so spirit can get activated earlier. They don't have to wait.
That's awesome.
It takes 2 years to go through the program. If you're really smart, 4 years, because the intellect stops surrender.
Yeah. Oh, say that again.
2 years to go through the program.
The intellect stops surrender.
That's right. Right.
I've seen that. I've been sober 21 years. I've tried to help a lot of guys and have succeeded. The ones I have not succeeded in helping, it's because they were too smart.
Well, I would go, because your intent is strong. That's
they can't surrender.
That's right. So, and so when I would go, we go and take care of Padres communities, lecturers communities, and 50 communities around the world, take care of the people there, see the changes, work with them. It's one of my passions. I've taken care of high profile people, presidential candidates. I've taken care of some of the more prominent families in the world, CEOs of companies, celebrities, so many different people. What is actually the most satisfying for me personally is taking care of those who have lost the way. Because they're hungry. Not at the very beginning of it. Once they realize they're lost.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah.
How do you find a chink in the armor with someone like that, like in addiction, who's lost their way when you're trying to help them?
When they get energy, it changes.
Mm.
They get addicted to love. Addiction is addictive. But love is a good thing because no matter what happens, everyone it works. It works for everybody. I see it. I've seen it over and over.
Mm-hmm.
So now, about 15 years ago or so, a couple of doctors took some of the early network work I did, and they borrowed it under the name this way, and used an instrument to take care of people. It's like a click instrument on it to put the force into the spine. They followed my sequence of how to take care of people. Okay. And it was an earlier version of what happened. And one of the people, Dr. Jay Holder, was a chiropractor, and he was an MD specialist in addictionology. And he did a pilot study in Florida on people's addictions. And it was part of an article in the Journal of Psychoactive Drugs, a 93-page article on the brain cascade theory of drug addiction. And they used a method based upon my method. And they got the greatest change they've ever seen in addictions with almost no return afterwards, less hospital costs and everything, less nurses' visits, etc. But what happened is this, is they said there's allele, a protein and gene, associated with basically well-being. And what happens is people who are drug addicts, that gene doesn't get activated. So you could touch somebody or look at the sunrise, you'd feel wonderful. They don't have it. As they got the care, an earlier version of my work, to get what the gene turned on again.
Wow.
We've
Interesting.
worked with people in New Jersey with a research study, which is basic network and some matters of integration. These girls who were real serious addicts, real serious challenges, emotional stuff. They drew pictures of themselves and they were being hung, dark colors. 8 weeks later, flowers and rainbows, unicorns. I mean, totally different things.
Dude,
You see,
wow.
if someone's been a drug addict or alcoholic, they already have somebody activate the receptor sites that would happen if they're being awakened. So it's easy.
Well, is not using drugs sort of a facsimile of an awakened state? I mean, to me, when I was using, it was like an early version of a spiritual experience, but it wasn't
let me
real,
explain.
because you come down.
Okay. So and more than that, because you're not making a fucking difference for other people. That's why.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the pain of addiction. You see, remember I said if you add tremendous value to the field for other people, you can have the opiates activated hallucinogens naturally. You're looking for those things to be produced without the effect. So without giving to the world, making a difference.
Right.
So what happens now?
It's like you're cheating energy and consciousness. In
So
a
what
sense.
happens now is the downside of it. You will no longer get enjoyment by simple things. So you have to take more and more drugs because you're addicted to the chemical rather than addicted to the surface.
Mm-hmm. That's so fascinating because the way out of addiction for me has been, many things, meditation, sorts of stuff, but service is the thing that locks it in. That's the absolute thing that and to this day, 21 years later, that's my anchor.
That's what activates. One thing. If you're still counting how many years you're sober, you're still alcoholic.
Yeah.
Your identity.
Well, that's probably true.
Okay. Because it gives you certainty. Every time you have certainty, I suggest you look for a wild adventure. When you think the rug is being pulled out from out of you, hold on, it's a freaking magic carpet. Because certainty stops the spiritual experience.
So what do you recommend I do? Just discard the idea of counting years? To me, it's like a celebration of the miracle gift that's been given to me,
if it's called external, if you look to the past to determine the future, life will be effort. Just go to the life you're going to create for others. And that's it. Anytime you go to the past, if you were this typology, for me, I have to go to the past. That's my strength. I was tortured over and over, real torture, attempted murder, all types of abuse in my life. And there's not one thing about my childhood that's painful to me. Because I'm called an internal. When I go into the past, my energy source is there. It's perfect. You go to the past, it sucks. You're meant to be in the future. You're meant to hold the future vision for what we have. Now, watching people respond, people go out of the body like this, answering the question. Why do people make noise? If they're like extra, they live out the body. If they first perceive, they make a sound out there. If they first move, they move. If they're internal, for me, it's like this. If there was called external, they show it off to everybody because they lift off the table. If structure's the thing, they'll hold the body like this or like this. So
that's interesting.
The idea is
interesting.
The amount of noise a person makes, and I'm moving from network spinal analysis to network spinal.
Okay.
Because I want people to be more energy efficient. So they don't have to make the same movements. It gets more inefficient. They get it faster, and we're looking to do this. The wave, when it goes through a person, is your own signature. It's unique for each individual. When it goes through you, it appears to suspend any motor, muscle pattern, or central nervous system pattern, spinal pattern. That's not authentically you. And it replaces it with your signal. Your sense of self is a series of motor strategies. That's why right after an orgasm, that's why when you awaken in the most extraordinary parts of your life, when you're sleeping, there's no sense of you. Only when there's tension is a sense of you. So, what would it be like? What is it worth for someone to have the authentic signal that's unique for that you, that organizes your motor strategy, muscle strategy, your sense of self, your function, your identity, go through you and be able to suspend all the conditioning that's not you and replace it by your own internal signal? While it carries energy and information that's been separate and integrates it. That's what happens with the network care.
That's interesting because that sort of relates to what you were saying about the spiritual growth and enlightenment is not about gaining new information and learning. It's almost about just acknowledging what's already there on one level, right?
So I'm going to give you another. You had AA. I'm going to give you AAA. Okay. First, become aware of an experience as it is, without the hunger to name it, identify it, change it, or make it something else. Even the greatest suffering can turn to joy within 10 seconds. Second, give testimony. Acknowledge it to at least another person. You know, this hurt. This didn't feel good. This was light. This was dark. Nothing more. When you acknowledge something as it is, you acknowledge the game you play, that is an end unto itself, because with your acknowledgement, you have a higher observer. And that observer adds more energy and starts changing the system. Become aware, acknowledge, the third, accept. Accept that's just the way it's been. There's a version of me that is a jerk. But
You too, huh?
But that version that wants to survive. It downsizes opportunity, but you know, when I need to survive, this version is going to do this. The version that's angry all the time, because that's its nature. You know what? When I need to step up to another level or say enough of this, I want to call on that. Suddenly there's a freedom there. Now, my energetic disciplines start with the concept, rather than liberating energies bound up in the body, instead, I'm going to take the free energy of the universe and I'm going to activate it. And I'm able to, and right now I have not taught this to anyone else because I don't know how to teach it yet, number one. And number two, I have to teach the person a level of beingness which I was born with to be able to be in that space. I will. We haven't done it yet. Okay, here. If you're outside and you take a magnifying glass, put it in the sun, you can start a fire. You magnify it. Well, I'm installing equivalent of magnifying glass in the bioenergetic, the emotional, the lower mind, the upper mental, the soul and universal spirit, the oneness energy, so that the energy can be focused in the body immediately and used. And if there's enough energy, the mind knows. Enough energy, the emotions express. Enough energy, it's just efficient, just happens and works. And not only that, by the way, your aptitude for how you use these, it lets me know what probably happened at what point in your life. So if you have tremendous difficulty getting enough energy in the lower mind, for example, it means to age 4 to 11, massive instability. That's what in my life at that time. Massive change, drugs, whatever it is. So I never learned the lessons of the mind. I still have difficulty thinking about things, this or that, right or wrong. I almost never will answer a question, is it good or bad, right or wrong? I won't, because I get going in a black hole there. But because it's so hungry, because it feels so inadequate, I want to fill it. I draw in the soul energy, and I will know exactly about your soul, what to say to you, exact right time. If I'm the universal intelligent spirit which controls everything, I will sit down with people not knowing what's happening, quote, research articles that they've read or know about, and help them resolve things. Because my mind will focus on that energy. This will change the world, change the way children, because they'll learn the way it is and say, wow, my lower mind is not that effective right now, so I'm not going to ask this or that. But I choose to get more energy, emotional energy, and I'll think differently. Or I'll laugh more, and the mind will have more energy. Or I'll say, you know, I want to optimize. Rather than say do this or that, what do I want to do? Just start using your resources. And when you go where the energy is, it starts fueling. The energy is not. This is it. Never try to fix something that's not working in your life. Go with what is working and let that spill over. If there's effort, you're off base. Find the thing that's not efforting. It's easy. So, people have some questions. The questions you asked about addictions and things like that in there. There's not just a you. We're part of a larger field. Whatever patterns generationally. A quick story. I was in Australia. I was with a friend. I walked a couple of miles to take his kid with him in the stroller to nursery school. And while there, just that, the only time he did that, a man was downstairs and he looked distressed and he said, "Hey buddy, how you doing? How you doing?" He knows him. His kids were upstairs in the nursery school. Called him kindergarten. And he said, "Hey buddy, well, maybe friend, what's going on?" "No, nothing, mate. Nothing, mate." I said, "It's all good. I'll go, no worries." I said, "No, you really feel like you messed up now." "Well, I don't know you." I said, "You're John's friend, aren't you?" "Yeah." I said, "Listen, looks like you use somebody to talk to. I'm here." He said, "Well, it's my kid." "My kid. I have two twin girls. One's playing right, and the other one is 2 years old. She was born with kidneys that are degenerating. We don't think she's going to make it. She has to have a transplant. We're really worried about her." "So really?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, it's really interesting because I'm in Australia now. I'm here, and I have a question. What have you done while you're waiting for surgery to help your daughter to heal?" So what do you mean? "What have you done while you're waiting for surgery for your daughter to heal?" "So we're going to surgery." I said, "No, that's fixing it. I mean healing, being whole, helping her. Why don't you help get her healthy?" Well, she don't hold the medication. What do you do to make her healthy, to optimize her?" I said, "No." I said, "Listen, I'm here a short time. I'm teaching a seminar here. I could take care of you at the seminar as an example, under a teaching example from regulatory stuff, and I could help your daughter. I could turn on the life power, the organizing force. Because obviously it's not there. Will it make the disease go? I don't know. But you think she's going to do better with the organizing force the body turned off or on." So the wife came down. I just tuned in as a mind can from that area. I told the wife, "Your daughter has failed to thrive symptom. Yes, digestive problem." Went the whole thing. She said, I said, "Yeah, I get it." Because it's not just one thing. Lots of things had happened. So they brought her over and took care of her. And she had trouble walking. They had to hold the father's hand, did a brace for her car in the neck and a car seat like that. There. While the other girl ran around, whatever it is. I took care of her. She screamed. It was hard to take care of her. Just gently touched the spine. Really hard to take care of her there. Because she expects every doctor to hurt her. But she gets off the table, holds the father's hand, says, "No, I'll walk by myself." It's like, wow. Gets in the car seat, takes the pillow off and says, I don't need this. I'll talk any of this. Fine. Started running around that day. He came over next time. He said, "Now I'll take care of my energetic discipline." I was doing the other programs. They did that discipline. Where you can take the unbound energy and instantly you'll have enough energy so this can function differently. It's not to heal her. It's to help her be energetically consistent with what she's made for. But I want to ask you something. Your daughter is going to get looking for a kidney transplant, and from an adult. That's right. I have a question, because the divine and patterns speak with mathematical precision through generations. And unless someone puts more energy in the system, the patterns continue. And each generation gets more intense, the sins of the fathers, so to speak. So, did any family member of yours have organ transplant? He said, "Well, my father had the first heart transplant in Australia." Your father, first heart transplant in Australia. And now your daughter, his granddaughter, is going to have the first kidney for the big adult. Yeah. I wonder if that's coincidental. Do you realize that the sperm that you came from your father and your father's came from his, because you're born with all the sperm and egg you have in life. There's women with all the eggs, and there's a pattern that goes on generationally where we must repeat what's unresolved before us to be our salvation for the previous, and use the salvation of the grandparent, not the parent, and make a difference there. So I said, let me ask you something a bit. Your daughter obviously failed to thrive. She probably experienced massive terror in utero. Now, this daughter seems like yours. The other seems like more your wife's. Yeah, they're not identical twins. It's okay. So I want to ask about you. Did you ever experience massive terror or death, like ethnic cleansing, like Bosnia or Croatia or something of that nature? Or did your parents enter the country like that? No. Massive death all around you. You said, no, but I was in the Bali bombing. I said, really? He said, I blast, I heard an explosion. I'm sitting there, and a wave of heat came over, and it just melted the skin and flesh off my arm. I was the last one to be received. I said, God, just help him get me now or take me. And just then, someone, was in the hospital for several months. I still have night terrors. So get this. The sperm in you experienced the consciousness of his terror and death. That formed your daughter. In utero, she has life-threatening stress and is failing to thrive. I'm not blaming, I'm saying it's a continuation here.
Mm-hmm.
For your daughter to be well, you need care. Because the continuation of that. I took care of the father, and that was it. That time afterwards, no more night terrors. A few months later, and I only saw him a few times in Australia, he went and reported that he was a victim of it and started getting help. The next time I saw the girl, she was running around the things. She stopped occupational therapy, stopped physiotherapy, stopped that because she was running and developing motor-wise like other children did. Then guess what happened? They didn't want care for me next time I came out because her creatine levels, her kidney function was too high. And because it was so high, they couldn't do the surgery. He was institutionalized illness. Rather than being excited about that, he was upset.
Wow.
Because he couldn't get the surgery to save her life. The fact that she kept improving. By the way, her sister got a virus. Everyone in school got a virus. This girl was perfectly fine there. So what I'm saying is generational is a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is there's a predisposition in the field. And what would happen consistently in that case, from conception to birth, there'll be a significant life-threatening experience I can't survive in utero. And it could be the father didn't want you, the mother didn't want you, a breakup, something of fear at that time would happen. And that itself would affect you in a way that the bioenergetic intelligence couldn't express itself and, of course, break down.
This explains then the, how the addiction and the alcoholism and whatnot runs in families so much. I mean, my whole family going back forever.
Until you claim enough energy to transcend your culture.
To break it.
You must claim extraordinary, ordinary claims you. This is it.
It's interesting that you keep, and it's cool that we got to cover so much stuff about the addiction, but when you keep going back to there being a lack of energy, because I feel like what happened with me was that I didn't have the power to affect change.
Pause. As long as you are experiencing in here, you'll never have enough energy.
Mm-hmm. There was a lack of power to produce that change for a long time.
Because there's not enough energy. That's all it means.
Right.
Put your hand on your heart, and we'll finish up with this.
Okay.
Tell me what's true. And people watching this, listen to what he's saying. Look how much energy is in his body and what you feel like. Go ahead.
What's true?
What do you know to be true?
Love is true.
Keep going.
Courage is true.
Keep going.
Acceptance is true.
Put your hand up there. What's true?
Humility is true. Kindness is true.
Keep going.
Compassion is true.
Put your hand here. Can you feel watching this how his energy level drops? And the first thing he's going to say is whatever his culture told him he's supposed to say. When you put your hand up there, suddenly it was a different light in you. There was a congruence with it. For you and your typology, I developed different typologies. This is going to revolutionize the world, change education, change marketing, change everything, change the way you see a doctor, change your relationships. If you do things to drop your energy level outside your nature, it'll always be an effort, it'll be struggle, and you can't impact your past, your history, or others. To do that, you must have enough energy. So now, put your hand up like that. Okay. Observe yourself on the moon, looking down. What's true?
Power is the word that comes to mind.
Okay. Isn't that what you said you didn't have?
Yeah.
I think that's going to be it for tonight.
That's great.
I'm going to end on that line.
That's great. I love that. That's a perfect ending. I got one closing question that I do on the show, Donnie, and thank you. That was amazing. So you've taught me. I mean, I'm going to have to listen to this 15 times. This is a deep one.
So is everyone.
So you've taught me and our audience a lot tonight. Who have been 3 teachers or teachings that have influenced you and your work that we might go kind of further upstream and perhaps check out and look into?
Okay. I would say the original writings of the Palmers, where they really went to unify spiritual and physical in the chiropractic form for that
The
historically.
Palmers, did
The
you
Palmers
say? Okay.
that founded the chiropractic. They were the ones who really, really started that and put me on that track there. I would say another teacher, I would say of things that were important were my parents. My mother, because they didn't know kids didn't know how to take care of me as a kid, how are you going to grow up, what's going to happen in the world with him. My mother told me that anytime you go to a party, go into a room, the only reason you're there is to make it better when you come out. Your job is to, and what I realized that is the space, the energy. Your job is to change it. So not only that person's changed, but their world has changed. She told me that. So she, in that way, helped me in that way, which is very, very powerful there. My father, in teaching the magic and excitement and awe of the mundane. He could watch it, look at an animal poo and get on the floor and say, even in his 80s, look at the pockets, look at the perfection of that. That's that. As far as other type of teachers, Chilton Pierce, in his book, Joseph Pierce, Cracking the Cosmic Egg, A Magical Child, was very important to me. I would say that Thoreau's writings were very important for me, reading. His Laws of Compensation blew me away, which is really, really extraordinary. I think that was a major point. Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich was important there. Let's see, that was really an essential one. Og Mandino's books were very, very helpful for me in helping me in many, many ways. My teachers, I had some teachers professionally that were really helpful in helping me develop there. I would say in development, being a parent and grandparent, you learn a lot real quickly. You realize what you don't know real fast. And my wife helped me go from my head to my heart in many ways and had faith and trust in me at a point that I was going to stop doing what I was going to do and had a faith to say that I'm here serving you as long as you're serving what you're meant to be serving. And that was very, very, very powerful, very there. And I got so upset when I asked her early in the relationship. I asked her, what is your purpose? What are your goals? What do you want to have in life? She said, to serve you. I said, no, that's technically responsible. No, serve you. No, you don't understand. Serve. No. What do you want to do? You got to tell me you have the goals. Serve you. You let me know what you need. That was like, huh? And we've been through a lot. 23 jurisdictions try to stop what we're doing. Never for patient complaint. Because we're expanding the model of healing when they were going more aggressive in healing. At that time also because I was immature masculine and I was trying to say that the emperor has no clothes and tell people. I don't say that's wrong. I just say there's more. It's a different story there. Mm-hmm. And some of the best teachers of all the people I took care of, because when you take care of somebody, there's something gets back. There's a transfer of something that's extraordinary. And all those people I've taken care of and what I've learned from them is really, really extraordinary. Yeah.
Awesome.
So
thank you. Bonus round. Some people have a hard time thinking of 3, and you're like,
and all the people I taught while teaching them, and all the stories they tell me, and all the challenges they've gone through, it's really been wonderful. You see, 2 things: the difference between a psychotic and a genius. The genius brings other people into his psychosis.
Nice.
I've been cracking the codes and changing the codes, the relationship between the human field and physiology for years. Humanity is ready to launch. We have to upgrade our systems and be aware of the use of energy and information in an extraordinary way and make it extraordinary for others.
Awesome. I love it. Last thing is, where do you want to send people? Website, social media, any of that stuff, the official business?
EpiEnergetics.com. EpiEnergetics.com. Also, if you go to 72000 Donnie, we will send to you a wonderful video on pain and the meaning of pain as any uncomfortable circumstance that interrupts your ability to experience life. And it's going to tell you all about the meaning and how pain could be an angel for change. I think people need to start starting at that basis first. Realize that life happens for you.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for your time. Great to meet you.
And Facebook, Epstein Donnie.
Epstein, Donnie. That's what it is. I was trying to tag you on the video. Now I'll go back and redo it, but I tried to find you and tag you and I couldn't. It was, okay, reverse name. Cool.
And when you go to the EpiEnergetics website, EpiEnergetics, there's also a documentary, as you mentioned, filmed at a program, The Gate, by Emmy Award-winning journalist, short documentary, won tremendous other awards, one of the best storytellers, and he chose to tell the story of this. It doesn't explain anything, but it helps you capture the experience of what happens as life shows up. And you'll see both the physical applications there and my working in the field with people also.
It's an amazing video. That's why I reached out to you guys. I watched that video. I'm like, I want to come to this. When is this happening? And then that led to meeting, your wife, Jackie, and getting you over here. So yeah, that video blew my mind. I'm going to Denver, and it was where I was born. So maybe I'll go there and get reborn again.
Well, listen, if it doesn't look weird now, it's not going to be around.
Right.
Because the future always looks weird to the present.
Right.
And we need a lot of weirdness real quickly.
Right on, man.
Weirdness that's great, though.
Right on.
Thanks.
Thanks, Donnie. Appreciate it, brother. Yep. I'll see you up in San Jose at Tony Robbins.
You are styling.
A few days. Yep. Hey, guess what, you guys? We made it through another episode, and another exciting announcement, totally unrelated, is today I happen to be at Guitar Center getting my acoustic guitar fixed, and I thought, you know what? I need more instruments in my life. I need more creativity. So I'm walking around thinking, what can I buy? A mandolin? Nah, too hard. Ukulele? Nah, too hard. Guitars? Already have plenty of those. Bass? Boring to play by yourself. Drums? I suck at it, and really boring to play by yourself. And then there it was. From heaven was the harmonica aisle. And I thought, wow, this is crazy. I used to play harmonicas, just jamming around the house with the boys back in the early 90s, like, in my early 20s, because I was really into blues, still am. And I thought, you know what the hell? I'm just going to buy a harmonica and carry around in the car and make LA traffic suck less. And, I got in the car and started playing it. And, I haven't touched one in 20 years because, hello, how gross is it to like play someone else's harmonica? Do you know how disgusting that is, even to me, someone who's not afraid of germs? So I got a brand new harmonica with no germs on it. And I got in the car and I was like, yeah, I got 20 years of catching up to do. But I thought I might just do some show interludes with it because it's kind of fun. It gives it that sort of folky feel. So as we wrap up this episode with Donny Epstein, you're going to get a little bonus music. All right, so no, in all seriousness, thank you so much for listening to this show. Donnie's a brilliant guy, and it was just such a pleasure to get to sit down with him, be treated by him, and just have such a deep dive conversation. It was really funny because I had all these notes, that I wanted to ask him. And when you talk to a true master, your notes and your preconceived ideas about what the questions are supposed to be just kind of go out the window. And that's happened to me a few times in my life where I'm excited to meet someone and I just have all these key questions, and then you sit down and you go into this sort of spiritual vortex, and those questions are just answered unto themselves, or they become no longer relevant because a master knows what needs to be said. And I have the distinct pleasure of being able to sit down with such masters on a regular basis, all thanks to you, the listener, from supporting this show by listening and sharing it with your friends. And, I always want to encourage you to continue to share this show. Another important thing you can do to support us here at the Lifestylist Podcast is to leave a review and rating in iTunes. It's now really, really super easy to do that on the iTunes app if you have an iPhone. If you'd like to leave a review on another device, just use your browser and go to lukestory.com/how to iTunes review. And there you will find a very user-friendly guide on exactly how to do that process. But if you have an iPhone, just open the podcast app, open my show, click on it, look in the bottom right, you'll see a little couple dots, click on those and you'll see leave a review. It's like super, super easy. All right, if you want to get next week's show with Light Hopkins sent to you, Light Hopkins, oh my God, that's so funny. I'm thinking of blues because of that damn harmonica, Lightning Hopkins. Lightning Hopkins is also fantastic, but next week's show is with Light Watkins, not to be confused with the blues artist Lightning Hopkins, although both are equally brilliant. If you don't want to miss next week's show with Light, all about meditation, make sure you subscribe to my newsletter. Again, I'm going to give you the instructions. If you want to get on the newsletter and you have a US phone, just text the word The Lifestylist to the number 44222. Now, seriously, like right now, stop what you're doing, pull your damn car over wherever you are, open up your text app while you're listening to me. They'll work at the same time. I'm waiting. You got it? You got it? All right, I'm here. I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. Open that text app. Put this number in the number field, 44222. Then in the body of the text, I'm going to walk you through this because a lot of people get really confused about this stuff. Text the word, The Lifestylist. All lowercase, all one word, The Lifestylist, to that number 44222. It's going to ask you for your email, and you will magically get sent to you each week my beautifully designed, action-packed, power-packed newsletter, including all of the show notes and links to every single episode. It's pretty awesome. If you don't have a phone handy, or you don't have a US phone because it only works on a US phone, the text thing, then you can just go to lukestory.com/newsletter. Real basic stuff and definitely worth the time that you're going to commit, which is about 60 seconds. All right. Lastly, I want to thank our advertisers. These brands, really do a lot to support the show. It gets increasingly expensive to up the production value and get bigger and better guests and take more trips and go to more events and do all the stuff that I do to keep the integrity of the show not only intact, but also to improve on everything that I do. So first off, I'd like to thank Organifi. You can go to Organifi.com/Luke. That's spelled with an I. Enter the code Lifestylist and save 20% off your first order. And then I'd really like to support this brand. They're new. It's a new company. They're doing amazing stuff, and that is Altera Pure. I literally I count sheep, and then I go to sleep on my Altera Pure, totally organic, non-GMO, just amazingly comfortable and beautiful sheets every single night that I'm at home in LA. So go to alterapure.com, enter the code Lifestylist, and save 15% off the most pristine, amazing bedding you've ever seen in your damn life. Lastly, my homies over at Clearlight Sauna. As I sit on this mic and record, about 2 feet behind me sits my Clearlight Sanctuary Sauna, which is literally like a member of the family at this point. I mean, my family's pretty scattered, but this would maybe be, actually I guess it's my wife right now, sad as that might be. But I love my Clearlight Sauna. You can go to healwithheat.com to learn more about what I believe is the best sauna in the world. In fact, somebody just DM'd me today and they're like, what about Sunlight and this other brand? And I hear they're good. I'm like, dude, I don't know what to tell you. I've researched all of the saunas on the market, and I believe truly at this point in my life that Clearlight saunas are the healthiest and most well-made saunas in the world, and they also have the most solid warranty. That's the thing that'll get you. You got to look into the fine print with these sauna companies, because they'll be like, parts and repairs for the first 2 years, except if this happens. So the warranties are super shady in the sauna industry. It's a little known scam, and I actually learned about it from Clearlight because their sauna warranty is ironclad. I think it's a lifetime warranty on anything going wrong with it, as long as you're the owner. So you can't pass it on to a friend or something like that. But if you're the one that purchased the sauna, they're going to fix that shit if anything goes wrong, and nothing ever goes wrong because they're really well made. All right, if you want to get a Clearlight sauna, as I said, go to healwithheat.com. And if you use my name, your old pal Luke, you can drop my name. When you know a celebrity and you try to impress people, you can kind of do that with them. And they'll be so impressed that they're going to give you $450 off, plus a free headrest and free shipping, which would be super expensive in the United States. So I'm maybe not Hawaii, whatever that is, the contiguous, what's that thing? Yeah, the real United States. No offense, Alaska and Hawaii. But if you're, in North America, I think you get the free shipping. But dude, $450 off is pretty meaningful. So again, thanks to Organifi, Altera Pure, and Clearlight Saunas, 3 brands that are doing amazing things in the world. And with that, my friends, I will let you go from this amazing episode of the Lifestylist Podcast. Thanks again for joining me. Hey, I'm hiring a semi-full-time assistant/brand manager to help me do everything over here at the Lifestylist Podcast and lukestory.com in Los Angeles. If you currently live in LA and you'd like to work with me and for me to produce the content that I put out into the world, here's how you find more info and apply. Go to lukestory.com/jobs, and there you will find a complete job description as well as application. So go to lukestory.com/jobs if you're interested in this position. This episode of the Lifestylist Podcast was produced by podcastmasters.net.